Inspired by kingdom principles that work for you.
Thank you for joining us at Forward, Upward, Onward Together as a part of RBNTV. My name is Carey and I'm your host. Our guest today is a Bahamian ambassador, but not in the traditional sense of the word. He has represented the Bahamas around the world and shared the flavors, the culture, and the stories of the Bahamas through his creative cocktails. He is an award-winning Bahamian mixologist, and he's won so many competitions. As early as the 2020 Angostura Global Cocktail Challenge, in 2019, the Angostura Global Cocktail Challenge just for the Caribbean, in 2019, the Stolak-Naya Regional Mix Master Champion, and the 2015 and 16 Taste of the Caribbean Bartender of the Year Gold Medalist. So he also has his premium cocktail ingredients that are sold in the United States in Walmart called Cocktail Artist Blue Caruso. So let's welcome Marv Mixter Mix Cunningham. Marv, welcome to Forward, Upward, Onward Together. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Carey.
I see you have your bottles right there, and you have a passion for mixology, and I've been able to witness that over several years. But tell us, how did you get involved in mixology?
I got involved in mixology in 2013. I've been bartending for 22 years, but my first chance at mixology came in 2013 when I applied for the bartender position for the Bahamas national culinary team.
It's interesting. Mixology is more than just, let's mix a rum and coke. And I know that there's some people who don't mind that, right. But it's a bit more than that. It relies on a level of creativity. We know we could see creativity through culinary endeavors, but to involve a bartender on a culinary journey, Taste of the Caribbean, is definitely something that I think that most people don't sort of realize, right?
Right. So I'll elaborate a bit more on that. Like I said, there was bartending for 22 years. And, when you're a bartender, you're equipped with the skills for basic bartending 101, the classic cocktails, contemporary cocktails, modern cocktails. But, you're never properly trained to think out of the box, to create signature serves. That has to come from within. That's something that you have to put a lot of work into, a lot of studying, a lot of research, a lot of trial and error. So what happened was I applied for the bartender position for the national culinary team in 2013, and the position had already been filled. So I spent the 2013, 2014, I spent that year preparing for what could have been, because there's a stigma that, when you call yourself the best, you have to prove it to everybody. And, you have family, friends, customers, everyone, is of the belief that, Marv, you're the best. And I think you should try out, and I think you should represent the country. So I thought it was.
Are you saying then that you were telling people that you were the best in the country, but you hadn't yet proved it?
That is correct. That is correct. And that is what kind of fueled it even more. I was like, a lot of persons, they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. So that was a perfect opportunity for me to, go above and beyond and represent the country and just make the Bahamas proud. And in 2014, I got my opportunity, and I went to Taste of the Caribbean, and I did not get the gold medal that I wanted. However, I did get silver, and a silver medal is just as good, just as long as, you knew that you put your best foot forward. I did that, but I was very ill prepared for that competition. And that is where the true passion and zeal for mixology started, because I knew what I had to do.
So what did you do?
All right. So, when I came back home with the silver medal, where everybody, the junk
So to
crew,
backtrack, so if I may stop you, Taste of the Caribbean is an event held by the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association to bring together, if I understand this correctly, to bring together culinary and mixology teams from around the Caribbean, and they compete. Is that right?
Yes, you are correct. Right. So the
It's a very
Caribbean
prestigious competition. So even to get silver is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. You know, it's quite an accomplishment. But you know, there's nothing like gold. And you know, we have a culture where, you know, gold will only be accepted. Gold will only be celebrated. You know, we see that in, you know, track and field. So when I realized what I was competing for, I was like, you know what, now I can stand shoulder to shoulder with the greats. And you know, it was about, you know, me being able to say, you know what, I you know, I did something great for my country. It was not about, you know, an achievement just for just myself, but you know, this country that I love so much, you know, I wanted to make her proud, and her citizens. I wanted to make everyone proud. So go ahead.
No, so you know, you've definitely done that, and so you know, you're right. We see it all the time. Unless our flag is, you know, number one, and you're having our national anthem being played on the Olympics, you know, just getting to the Olympics sometimes is big enough. You made it to Taste of the Caribbean, a great regional competition, but you stuck through it. You know, the preparation that you would have put yourself under to just get there and to get on top must have just been astounding. So what was that preparation like?
That preparation is very tedious, very hard, physically, mentally, and spiritually. You know, anytime that you can compete in a competition, you know, you put your body through a very strenuous process. Mentally, you're fatigued, and it's also your reputation. So, you know, there were a lot of things going through my mind, so I had to mentally prepare myself. But the good thing about that is I had, you know, wonderful teammates that assisted me wherever they, you know, could have. And they continued to critique my mocktails, my cocktails, told me where I lacked flavor, where I lacked in presentation. So I would like to say that I did it all by myself, but you know, that would kind of be false. I really had a great support system with the culinary team of 2014, 15, and 16. So after having that sting of defeat in 2014, you know, I prepared for 365 days. I actually trained every day, twice on Sunday. I know it sounds cliche, but it was actually true because I had a mission, and that was to, you know, hoist that gold medal up and say, you know what, Bahamas, I did you proud. And it worked. You know, I would go in the fields, I would pick, you know, fresh fruits, leaves. I did research, went online, I bought books, I watched videos on YouTube to see what, you know, international and global mixologists were doing, you know. So those things worked. And when you understand what Taste of the Caribbean is all about, it's about Caribbean flair, Caribbean flavors. They want to hear a story. You know, it's okay to mix a, you know, delicious cocktail, but they would like to know the origins of that cocktail. What inspired you to make this cocktail? And what separated me was the fact that I went in the deep details. You know, I took flavors like, you know, guava, you know, conch, grits, you know, the typical, you know, these items, you know, chefs and cooks, you know, these people cook these items. You know, you don't find these ingredients in cocktails too often. So what I did was I was able to deconstruct these items, turn them into tinctures, infusions, syrups, tinctures, bitters. So and it all worked out. It all worked out. I was able to win best rum, best vodka, best mystery basket. And in 2015, I came home a champion. I got inducted into the Hall of Fame. I won a gold medal, and it was very satisfying to know that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's amazing that you know, so much is on YouTube that you may have been able to study and you were able to focus. But truth be told, a lot of the Caribbean ingredients and mixology, at least in those days, I don't imagine that would have been on YouTube. So it would have had to been a lot of self-study and a lot of ingredients as well. You know, as you say, using guava. You may have been able to find some information on perhaps strawberries, on raspberries, and how European and Western mixologists have used and infused these flavors. But a lot of the traditional Caribbean flavors and our regional flavors probably would not have been there on YouTube. And so there's a lot of personal investment that I would imagine that had to have gone into creating these cocktails.
Yes, and that is what made it so authentic. The Bahamas is not the only place that guava grows. So the whole Caribbean is filled with the dillies, the soursops, the tamarinds, and those ingredients are used in other Caribbean countries, not in cocktails but in cuisine. So I thought, this is a perfect opportunity for me to step out of the box and wow the judges and hopefully teach someone a thing or two on how you can actually incorporate these raw ingredients into cocktails. And it paid off. I went back in 2016 and I was able to defend my crown successfully. And, in 2017, they said, something, Marv, you're good, you're great, we know it. We would like for you to share this passion and zeal with some of the competitors and the up and coming bartenders. So we like to make you a part of our judging panel, and I humbly and graciously accepted.
Yeah, I heard that. I actually heard them tell that story, that they graciously asked you, thanks, Marv. We appreciate you being a competitor. Just come be one of our judges now, okay? And I think that that's a great testimony to your passion, But what's interesting, not only do you compete on these regional and international stages, but you also participate at home. When I first met you several years ago, it was at a stall in one of our festivals. And you were, mixing it up and sharing it with, not just me, but all the other customers around there. And, it must have been fun to share it, not just with like international guests who would have been at this festival, but other Bahamians as well. That what has been the response to your cocktails locally?
Locally, everyone loves it. They love the concepts. I love making mocktails and cocktails with indigenous ingredients. If it can be planted here, if it can be grown here, there's going to be a cocktail made with it. So take for instance, one of my biggest sellers, a sea grape, juju, and sweet potato, even cassava. And it's mind blowing to see, their response when they taste these concoctions and they're like, what would get into your head to make you create this? And it's like, it's a never ending battle, deep within, you always try to supersede yourself by continuing to make a new cocktail every day, because I live by this quote, the greatest cocktail has not yet been created. So every day I strive to do that.
How have you been able to keep fresh during the pandemic? The tourism industry is, for the most part, closed. And so there's been not a whole lot of practice, I would imagine, that you've been able to do, in front of guests, really in front of our local audience as well. How have you kept up with your skills?
Well, COVID-19 has definitely put a dampen the tourism industry. But the world has not stopped turning. It's still turning. So that means we have to continue to push and keep moving. So what I have done, I've been staying fresh by still buying produce, still coming home in the lab when I have time and creating cocktails. But more importantly, I've been, sharing that the same passion and zeal that burns deep within me with bartenders in the region as well as international bartenders as well. I host a lot of Zoom sessions. I present a lot for the House of Angostura. So, I've been keeping busy, and even though I am very decorated, I'm still learning. So the learning never stops. No matter how far you get or, your highest accomplishment, you must continue to, go over your work. There's nothing wrong with trying to, recreate one of your classics. And during this pandemic, I successfully recreated 3 of my classic cocktails. I put a spin on them, and I was very happy that I did. I had the time to do it.
You talk a lot about how you've been able to use local flavors into your cocktails, but have you adopted some techniques from around the world in some of your creations?
I'll tell you something. It all starts with a concept, and then you transform that concept into a liquid experience. And I have seen some techniques that have been used globally, all bartenders and mixologists alike. The only thing that would separate them would be tools, and techniques. So with me having the relationship that I have with my 2014, 15, and 16 culinary team, I was able to pick up on some cooking techniques that are awesome, and I just implemented those, in the creation of these cocktails. And international bartenders, they do that as well. But I would dare say that I am a master at culinary cocktails. Definitely.
What does that, and tell us, what does that mean when you say culinary cocktails?
So culinary cocktails would be a concept where you would take a non-traditional cocktail ingredient, like I spoke to you earlier about, yams, sweet potatoes, cassavas, and you would be able to, transform them into cocktail ingredients. And there are many different ways that you can do it. You can do it by creating a syrup. You can do it by creating a puree. You can do it by having a infusion. And you have to really understand the ingredient that you're working with. How is this going to elevate or complement this drinking experience? You use something like cassava. You look at the texture of cassava. Cassava is going to give that cocktail a beautiful, smooth, silky mouthfeel. A lot of persons use raw egg whites to accomplish this. But think about persons who can't stomach or even fathom drinking egg whites. So, cassava would be a good replacement. So I mean, you make a nice rum sour, and all traditional sours have egg white. So if you want to substitute that egg white for something like cassava, go right ahead. You'll be blown away.
Tourism has definitely changed, and it's become a little bit more complex. No longer are guests just wanting to, and some are, but no longer do many guests just want to drink, a pina colada, have a rum and coke on the beach, but they want to, and you talked about it, they want a cocktail experience. They want to taste the islands in their cocktails. How have you been able to achieve that, you think?
What separates the Bahamas, besides, us having the best conch salad, having the best conch fritters, are cocktails, Bahamian cuisine, Bahamian drinks. So I say that to say what myself and other Bahamian bartenders have been able to do. Like I said, we've moved into using fresh, local ingredients. People want an experience, whether through food or beverage. Let me draw this illustration to you. If I made a classic old-fashioned for a customer, do you think that classic old-fashioned would taste any different than a classic old-fashioned that they may have had a day before in Las Vegas? It probably would not. It's the same guideline, the same template. It's the same classic old-fashioned. But what's going to change the dynamics of that classic old-fashioned is the fact that I would be able to incorporate bay leaf, lemongrass. I would be able to make a simple syrup out of, let's say, out of soursop or out of dilly, and be able to give that cocktail an extra layer of flavor. And it also sparks a conversation. Hey, why aren't you using regular simple syrup? What does adding tamarind simple syrup to this cocktail do? and then you get to tell them the origins of the tamarind, the flavor profiles of the tamarind.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that cocktails aren't just really for the experience of the customer, but it's to tell the stories of the destination. You're telling about your time foraging for lemongrass and guava. You're able to tell you're able to introduce people around the world what a sapodilla is.
Exactly.
And that's really amazing. Something that many of us in the region really take for granted. And so mixology is really super creative, and it's also a way to introduce people, around the world to our culture. How do you think that our hotels and our tourism industry can embrace mixology even more to showcase the culture and the flavor of the islands? And if so, how so?
I definitely think that hotels should be receptive to that idea. That would definitely separate your beverage program from other beverage programs regionally or even internationally. There you can find classic and contemporary and modern cocktails in all outlets and just about every bar. But what you can't find is something that is local, something that is indigenous, something that bartenders will be well equipped, to spark that story to educate the consumer or the guest. It goes beyond just looking for a profit. Give your guests something to speak about. I remember you spoke about seeing me at a local festival, right? Listen to this. I'll share a story with you. At one of those festivals, I was able to make a Scotch conch cocktail, right? So when I say Scotch conch, when you think about Scotch, that's the way that we prepare the conch. But when you hear the word Scotch, you think about Scotch whiskey. So the base of that cocktail was Scotch. The preparation of the conch was a Scotch method. And, to elevate, I use Scotch bonnet, what we know as gold pepper. So it was a
fascinating.
So it's a play on words, and it was a very, very good cocktail, beautiful experience. And it was so funny that a guest that I made that cocktail for, 2 weeks later, I was on a flight to the Hamptons with a suitcase filled with conch to make that cocktail at a dinner party.
Wow. So your mixology career is really taking you around the world.
It has. And I'm very proud that I chose, this career. And I'm happy that I chose to, not give up and not let a medal dictate, my limits of how far that I can go. Because I guarantee you, if I had went back, to where it all started with Taste of the Caribbean, and if I didn't win in 2015, I would not have stopped there either. I think we have to learn that, good things come to those that wait, and you just, there's no reason to give up. Everybody wants to be the hottest thing on the market, but when you want to be the hottest thing, you need to understand what fire is. Nobody wants to get burned. Nobody wants to feel that intense heat. When you walk through that fire, you will be able to accomplish anything.
Totally agree. Weren't you, Marv, in Europe some time ago?
Yes. Yep, I was in Europe. Spent some time in Europe doing, all right. It was more of a European tour for me to learn these techniques, see what European bartenders were doing. I went to, I frequent the States a lot. I like to go to the West Coast, Vegas, LA, went to New York, even went to Canada to see, what bartenders were doing. And so I said, what?
So this was really an investment in your education.
Yes, it was. It was definitely an investment. So I took a European tour, met some really amazing people, learned about, techniques, learned about brands, and learned pretty much how that I could elevate myself, in the industry.
Marv, I also know that you are a man of faith, and how were your family or the community receive your choice of career in mixology?
I'll tell you something. My family supports me. My pastor supports me. They are open and receptive to it. But there are others that do think that it's a bit extreme to be in the position that I am in and claim, that I love God. When they, alcohol has been demonized, and I don't think that is the case. Anything that you do when you overindulge in anything, that is where sin begins. You can have a glass of wine, you can have a cocktail, so the Bible speaks about, having a little for the stomach's sake. But it's truly, it's all about where your heart is. And, wine is a mocker, but, it's something that you have to control. It's all about how much you can take, how much you can handle. What I may be able to handle, you may not be able to handle. Some I know some individuals, when they smell alcohol or they smell wine, they get dizzy. So that's it. That's my take on it for now.
What advice would you give future creative bartenders who may be looking at a career in mixology?
That's a good one. Okay, so the advice that I would give future bartenders is that, if you don't have the passion, if you don't have the zeal, if you don't have the creativity, if you don't have the love for serving people more than you like making drinks, don't mess with it. Because it's more than making money. It's way more than that, because bartenders and mixologists, they make pretty good money. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Don't be so quick to elevate and say that you're a mixologist when you have not mastered bartending. I think that's the issue now. I mean, mixologist, it's a very fancy word. I am a mixologist, but I know how to be a bartender as well, because there will be situations where I will not have access to fresh fruits, fresh produce, and create that experience. But when I make you a rum and coke, when I make you a Moscow Mule, even when I pour you a glass of white wine, that's going to be the fanciest glass of wine poured. It's going to be the fanciest rum and coke ever made. It's going to be served with a smile,
And to your point that there's also theater involved in mixology, the way that you create and make drinks.
Yes.
Right. It should make your guests, even if you're having a dinner party or if you're serving for purchase, it should be an aspect of, it should be theatrical. People should feel special and want to be a part of the performance and seeing this very special creation, right?
Yes. Flair and presentation plays a very important part in the cocktail making. Also attitude. There have been situations where patrons have gone to some of the nicest bars and they've, the drink quality was very poor, but because of the interaction with the bartender, they really enjoyed themselves. And there have been other instances where they have went to, really, really hostile environment bars, and the bartender would make a good drink and they would still enjoy themselves because, the bartender is personable. But, to each his own. You just really have to, love what you do and show that through the finished product.
And I could definitely hear your passion and your zeal for your cocktails and for your mixology, definitely coming through. You have some beautiful bottles next to you. What are they?
Oh, well, okay. So I am the global brand ambassador for the House of Angostura. So I won the Angostura Global Cocktail Challenge earlier this year, before COVID. Thank you. God has a sense of humor. Because the reason I say that, there were a lot of competitions that were scheduled to have happened after Angostura Global Cocktail Challenge, and those competitions have been canceled. So so I am very happy to have been afforded the opportunity to compete. But these bottles that you speak of, this is just one of the rums, luxury rums that have been produced by the House of Angostura. This is also the latest innovation from the house of Angostura. It's Angostura cocoa bitters, not to be, mistaken with cacao. It's the latest innovation. Has been, 13 years in the making. It's the third bitters made by the house of Angostura. The Angostura is known for their bitters, the aromatic bitters, which has been created in 1824 by genius Dr. Johann Siegert. But Angostura is definitely true to their work, and they have created a wonderful bitter here. Like I said, the aromatic bitters. And
so that's the famous spot, yeah.
Yeah, it's the famous one here. Yeah, this is the first, and this is the second, which is the orange bitters, which is the heart and soul of a gin martini. And if you're a lover of the modern martini, a nice vodka martini. But what makes this special too, it's this is 100% Trinidadian, as it is made with the 100% Trinitarian cocoa. And that's what makes this really authentic. It's true. It's made with a neutral based sugarcane spirit, and it goes good in mocktails and cocktails. All right. So, and here I have my cocktail artist. Blue curacao syrup. It has my face on it. So, the packaging is set to change. My face will still be on it, in the back of the bottle. But, the packaging will change as we continue to grow the brand, kind of move in a modern and contemporary packaging. So most blue curaçaos do contain alcohol, and this one is kid friendly.
Okay, so you're able to create mocktails as well.
Mocktails, yeah, definitely be able to create mocktails with that. My daughters, they love it, and they just look for a reason. They just look for a reason to celebrate anything, some blue curacao and apple cider. and truth be told, a few dashes of Angostura aromatic bitters. So I'll tell you something quick about this. This contains 44.7% alcohol. But when you apply this, you apply it in dashes. So the dashes are so small that you cannot feel the effects of the alcohol. It's an insignificant amount of alcohol in the dashes. So you can you can have this for someone who says, I want a mocktail. This would be a great base for a mocktail, like 4 or 5 dashes will totally transform, your carbonated beverage of choice, even your favorite juice.
So Marv has a special treat for our viewing audience. He's going to show us one of his culinary creations.
Right. So here I have a loaded guava switcher, and it's going to be garnished with a dehydrated lime wheel. So what's inside this cocktail is, okay, let's fix that. Okay, so this is made with spice leaf infused white rum, coconut water, a guava shrub, Angostura cocoa bitters, Angostura aromatic bitters, the native sour lime, sour lime, right? The sour lime, what we call sour lime, as well as a nutmeg and vanilla simple syrup.
And Marv has also made sure that I had a glass to
exactly
to try as well.
Yes, so cheers.
Cheers.
Good.
Marv, this is delicious. It's well balanced.
Thank you.
I can taste the spice. There's also a sweetness where I could also taste you said that there's guava in it, right?
Yes, guava.
I could definitely taste the guava. You could see the guava in it as well. And so you could taste the sweetness of our island berries. Yes. Very well done. And as I said, very well balanced.
Thank you so much, man.
Great execution, sir. And so, Marv, thank you very much for joining us at Forward, Upward, Onward Together. If someone in our viewing audience wanted to reach out to you, where can they do so?
Yes, they can find me on my Facebook page. That's Mr. Mix Bahamas, MRMIX Bahamas. They can also find me on Instagram, Mr. Mix Bahamas _ 242. Or my email, which is Mr. Mix Bahamas, MRMIX Bahamas, @outlook.com.
Thank you, Marv, and thank you to you, our viewing audience, for watching us at Forward, Upward, Onward Together as a part of RBNTV. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our page. See you next week, every Tuesday at 6 p.m.
You're watching RBNTV. We are networking, promoting, we're scoring points for you, proclaiming, declaring, here to encourage you. No matter the problem, we will enlighten you. We hear you, please listen. There is a point of view. You're watching RBNTV. We're transforming minds, empowering lives, inspired by kingdom principles.